Hello and welcome to Scambait Beyond as we present Scambait Diaries. My name is Amanda J, and here's my co host.
My name is Iconic. We'll be diving deep in the scam baiting community.
We'll be sharing stories from baiters themselves, sharing information about scams to help educate, prevent, promote.
So sit back, relax, and let's start the conversation.
Hey, Conic, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. Can't
Well,
say I'm doing bad.
oh, good. Well, now that as the weekend is approaching, I think maybe it's a good time to kind of talk about some different scams and scammers. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's about time we decide to dive deeper into the scam baiting, I guess you could say, industry. There's a lot that we can cover. There's a lot of scams we can cover, but I think narrowing it down to maybe like the top six is probably the best bet. What do you think?
I think so too. And we actually have a list of the top 6 thanks to Iconic. So thank you very much for kind of gathering that and saying, "Hey,
Mhm.
let's dive deep in this." And the first one is phishing scams. Now, of course, the definition of the phishing scam is involve fraudulent attempts to obtain sensitive information such as usernames, password, and credit card details by posing as a trustworthy entity. So,
Yes.
what do you think when anyone experiences that? Of course, it's scary.
Well,
I
of course
mean,
it's scary because the thing is with phishing scams, you're getting what you think is a legitimate website when in fact it's false. A good example would
mhm,
have to be PayPal scams. People get sent links to a PayPal login page, or they'll get sent to a fake write up on an invoice, and they'll believe that they have to pay off or log in to this PayPal account or for this PayPal account. And they'll log in, and immediately their details get sent over to the what do you want to call them? Scammers. It
yes,
it
scammers.
they get sent over very quickly, and it can be so realistic you might not be able to catch the small intricacies that might point out as a fraud.
Right. That's why, really, to be honest, I think it's good to read all the information because you're going to see some grammar. Now, it's hard because sometimes a lot of them seem so legit. But if you look at the grammar, and you can kind of tell, but it may not be the first time you read it. So don't hesitate to keep rereading it to ensure that this is legitimate. And if you don't think it's legitimate, then do not click on it. Another good way of
Correct.
searching is see what their email says, because it should say from PayPal, not George Bush whitebead.org or at gmail.com. So those are some of the other things that are very good clues to kind of to look for. But you're right. I mean, they say you need to pay $499 or $299 to make sure that you're up to date in your software or
I mean,
whatever.
yeah. I mean, a couple other key things you might want to look for when it comes to those emails or those pop ups
Mhm.
is looking at the URL it redirects to, because sometimes they might spell out PayPal, but it might be spelled PayPai instead of PAL at the end. Because
Right.
you'll see that that URL is not the URL you want to interact with. Um, you also want to look for punctuation issues, because if they miss a comma, that's never going to happen with an actual like company. They triple vet everything that comes out of their system.
Yes.
They make sure that when you're looking for the things you are looking for within the company, they make sure that it's completely professional, completely up to date with all the stuff. There's also a lot of there's also a lot of, like you said, email addresses is a big one. But if you want to get
Yes.
even more in depth, you can also do headers, which is something that's a bit more advanced, but it's basically like looking at the email address, but in a more in depth fashion.
Right, and a lot of them, if they're very professional or just like when I used to work for an organization, we would always have our link to our official website, which always
Yes.
helped. And then, of course, my email would say my name with the organization I was working with. So those are some of the clues that you could look into. But the main thing is, say if someone did click on this, what would you recommend?
Well, I would watch out for red flags. They could be unsolicited emails or messages with urgent requests, um, suspicious links and grammatical errors, like we talked about. Um, but I do agree with what you're saying. I do agree.
But it's just if someone clicks on this and then goes, "Oh, man," or their spouse comes in and says, "What did you just click on? Now I'm getting phone calls from so and so." And
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think would be the best thing to do? I mean, especially
Well,
if they have their information. I mean, I know one of idea, but what would you think would be a good idea if they felt like, "Oh my gosh, I just clicked on this and now my information is being sent everywhere."
I recommend. Well, there's several avenues you can go down. Um, you can create a whole new online persona. You could do that.
Mhm.
Changing your phone number would be helpful.
Yes.
Knowing where you put your phone number after you change your phone number is really important. Um, a another way to prevent this sort of thing from happening, especially if it's on the in the moment, like, oh my god, I just paid this amount. They're gonna come back at you hard because they know you have cash to give. Um,
Right.
so your best bet is, I would believe, it would have to be something short of contacting the FTC.
Yes. I totally agree. FTC plus make sure you contact your bank right away, advise
Yes.
them of the situation, and then that way they can not only give you a new card, but also they will be overlooking anything that comes suspicious. I
Yeah.
mean, even my bank just called me recently and then they left me a voicemail and was like, "We think there's some fraudulent activity." And I thought, "What is fraudulent?" Well, it came out to be the software program I'm using to record. And because
Interesting.
it gives you like different scenes and different little things that you can add to it. So if you're using Formora, then you know your bank might even think, "Hey, this is not legit," which I'm thankful they did that because the fact they were overlooking, overseeing, and ensuring. So hopefully your bank will be able to do that right away as well. But I would definitely recommend contacting your bank right away. And also making sure that if you do get calls, don't talk to them. You don't have to answer the phone. You don't have to be scared, and making sure that that you can still get everything resolved. The other thing that when my family um, got actually after my mom passed, someone had filed her claim for taxes. So my dad did that life alert and it never happened again. Now, of course, life alert, you do have to pay for it. I don't know how much it was on his end, but that's something else that could be done too. So if you feel like your information, but I do agree with you, Iconic, is that change your telephone number, maybe change your email, maybe
Yep.
change. Not you don't have to change your banking account. You just need to change your card.
Yeah.
But if you feel like your account has been totally affected, then you can also just have your bank issue you, a new card and a new account. So that way they can't get to you. If you feel like you need to change banks from Bank of America to Chase or something like that. But,
Right.
just know that there's always people out there to help you in regards to this matter. Is just making sure you take action as best as possible and don't
Yeah.
let them freak you out. All right.
I agree. It's very important that you maintain anonymity on the internet as much as you possibly can. Being
Yeah.
transparent with your information will lead you down the scammer route, and making sure that you keep that stuff hidden is a good way to maintain that kind of, I guess you could call it financial discipline.
Yes, I totally agree. And no, you're exactly right. You don't have to share your whole life story on TikTok or Facebook, and don't enter any telephone numbers on there, and don't accept friend requests that you don't know.
Yeah,
Things like that. So you're
agreed.
right. It's just trying to figure out, okay. But if you do need to take action, or if you feel like, okay, there's something else I think I'm missing, then they can certainly reach out to us, and then we can provide them the right person to contact. But definitely, I agree with you, Iconic. FCC, changing emails, talking to your bank, those are the good things to kind of start with. So
Yeah.
I all right. So again, just if you feel like you clicked on anything, just know that it can always be fixed. All right. Well, the next one, the lovely tech support scams. And of course,
Yes.
we know what they like to do. They like to impersonate tech support, such as Microsoft. Or what are some of the other ones that you've kind of seen in regards to tech support?
I've seen Apple, I've seen Amazon, I've
Mhm.
seen GitHub, I've seen so I'm in the coding space, so I've seen a lot of people try to advertise their skills or whatnot, but they try
Mhm.
and either take your code or they try and take your banking information by connecting to your computer. So there's a lot that can happen with that kind of with that kind of route. Um, but for people who don't get into coding, you're
Like
most likely going
myself.
to be seeing, yeah, you're going to be most likely seeing Microsoft, Apple, Amazon.
The
Let's see
PayPal,
what.
like you said.
Oh yeah, PayPal. Those are well known, but they will contact you saying they're tech support, and they will either call you a cold call. So they'll say, "Oh, we're from Microsoft, and we noticed with your computer." Trust me, Microsoft does not care about your computer.
Yes, they're gonna call you on a daily basis and make sure that your computer is I actually had one call me a few years ago, and I said, "My computer's not even on. How do you even
Yep.
know that there's an issue?" And, of course,
Hmm.
the phone conversation didn't last very long, but, say if I was older, or like my dad,
Yeah.
he's not he's actually a lot more tech savvy than my mom ever was. She was only
Yeah.
able to reach for emails or look at J.C. Penney, something like that. But
Yeah.
but again, it's just if someone called my mom and said, "Oh, there's something wrong with your computer," I think she would fall for it, to be honest.
Right.
If
Right.
say if I was not a person to talk about scams, but anyway, so she would do, and they would do the unsolicited calls or pop up messages, and then they do the fear tactics.
Yes.
So do you want to kind of talk about that and what they do?
The fear tactics that tech support tends to give you is like, oh, not give you, but they tend to present to you is, oh, your computer has a virus. Oh, your computer is this. Your banking credentials have been leaked to an online forum, or things of that nature. You'll encounter a lot of gobbledygook talk where it's mostly just a lot of people saying these buzzwords like hackers or scammers or whatever. You're going to encounter a lot of people who think they know what they're talking about, but in
Mhm.
all honesty, all they know how to do is get into your computer and then look around. And that's their main goal, is to get onto your computer, look official. And yes, it's very common for industries to use computers to connect to and change and modify through a remote access, which
Right.
is connecting from another computer to your computer to control it. That's used in pretty big industries. But when it comes to a tech support scam, that is just a flex. They'll say, "Oh, we are now connected to your computer. Now we can change all this stuff for you." That's
Yes.
not going to happen if you're not involved with a big industry. That's not gonna ever. It's never going to be. How do I put this? It's never going to be presented to you in that fashion. As an alternative, you can go to a mom and pop shop instead that's local to you, and they
Yeah.
might be able to help you out a lot better, or your son or daughter. But either way,
I totally agree. I totally agree. Or even if you don't have a mom and pop shop, talk to someone at Best Buy. Use someone that
Mhm.
looks legitimate like Geek Squad. And then that way, they're not going to have your computer go automatically black and say Windows is updating. And you're thinking,
Yeah, no,
what are they doing? They're going to actually be able to tell you exactly and diagnose the situation. I mean, even some people have even gone to test out Geek Squad to see how trustworthy they are. And the majority of the times they were doing a really good job, but they made sure like if they unplug something, would they plug it back in?
yeah,
And so even something similar to that. But the main thing is they can tell you if it's a virus or tell you what the issue is, if your motherboard's out, other things, then they can fix it and tell you legitimately in your face, which is a good thing. But when you're
yeah,
talking to someone and they're just like, "Oh, let me handle the situation. Please hold the line," or whatever. And
yeah,
I'm doing a terrible accent, so excuse me. But again, if you're exactly right, I do agree with you. Go to a mom and pop shop. Go to somewhere, and especially your children. A lot of kids are very tech savvy now these days, and they can certainly help you. But
yep,
again, if you feel like you've gotten to this problem, definitely reach out to us. We'll be happy to provide you as much details as we can. And, but again, if there's other issues, you can, again, just it never hurts to reach out and don't feel embarrassed.
one
When,
hundred percent. Don't feel embarrassed. It's happened to the best of us. It's happened to the worst of us. Eventually, you're gonna probably come across something that seems legitimate. You might fall for it, but knowing how to protect yourself after the fact is very important. But one thing you can take
Mhm,
away from these tech support scams is to never provide access to your computer or pay for unsolicited tech support services. That's all I can say.
definitely. I mean, if they have you connect and then of course they have you do the run box.
Oh
Hit
yeah,
hit the and then they do the CMD. I mean, they do their own little skit and
they
their
do a little
script.
magic.
Yes, and supposedly help you, but then, "Oh, it's gonna cost you $1,000." Do
Mhm.
not pay them. Do not pay them whatsoever. And so,
Yep.
again, there's just a lot of different things that do happen, but if you feel something in your gut that's not right, hang up. Don't let them connect to your
Yes.
computer. And unless it's your true organization that you're working from home from, or you know, doing something to help another friend out that you trust, those kind of things. But
Yeah.
if you do not feel comfortable, don't do it. And a lot of them
Yep.
they'll try to persuade you, but all you have to say is no, thank you. All right. Well, do you want to start with the next topic?
I think we covered as much as we can with tech support. It's just it's a very it's another nasty little one, but
Yeah.
let's go into the next one.
Well, that's what I was asking you to
Yeah.
do.
um, I'm about to talk about a scam that I don't really have much experience with. Romance scams. I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, well, luckily enough, I've had a little bit of experience of some scammers contacting me, and they will contact you either from Facebook, TikTok,
Okay.
Instagram, and any other social medias that they can reach out to. And it's funny because on Facebook, they even did it with me with they'll see what I recommended and then they'll comment and be like, "I can't friend request you, but your profile is so beautiful. I would love to be your friend." Something like that.
So this is a female oriented kind of scam.
I don't think I've heard of a lot of male friends getting this, but
I
yes,
mean,
it,
I
it
I
tends
mean the
it I
worst
will
a
say
male
it
can get. I mean, the worst the mail can get is like, ah, a woman just robbed me of a free dinner. Ah.
Right. You had to pay $200 and just for their company. Woohoo. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. And I think I would say, and I'm not trying to be sexist here, but I will say they do tend to find more females. It's like that's their
Mhm.
target. And and so what they'll do is they'll just say, "Oh, I'd love to be your friend. Can we talk?" But then not only do they want to talk to you through Facebook, let me try to say that word correctly. They will say, "Oh, well, do you have any other apps that we can talk to?" Especially if you're talking from
Oh,
TikTok or say a game. And they'll say, "Do you have
yeah.
Instagram?" So then they'll get your telephone number. And
Yeah.
but basically what they're trying to do is like you said, gaining their trust, and they'll tell their whole story. Like I had one guy say that he was in Australia selling cars and that he was from New York. And
What?
that later on he said, "Oh, well, can you help me with $500?" And I
Oh,
explained to him, I already
wow.
told him, I was like, "I'm married." And that's the thing is like if anyone's tried to reach out to me, I'll say, "I am married." That's the first thing I tell them. So that way they know, but they still try to target married women. Doesn't matter if you're in a
Right.
relationship or not. They just want to build up that trust and then say how much they love you. That's the other thing that is hilarious to me is how they say, "Oh, I love you so much and I can't stop thinking
You
about
don't
you."
even know me.
That's true. That's what I tell them. Let me see if I can go back to some of the messages, but it's crazy of what they'll actually say. I mean, I had one guy respond back to me on TikTok and he's like, "I love you. I can't stop thinking about you and I hope
Yes.
that we can be, still remain friends, but I'd really like for us to be more than that." That's what they love
Yeah.
to tell you. It's like they explain how they want to eventually marry you even though you might already be a married woman. And I'm not searching
That's
for that
just
person. I'm not searching for another romance. But they will try to just dig their hole deeper and deeper and deeper and just try to tell you how much they love and care. And oh, one guy even said, "Hey, it's my birthday." I was like, "Hey, what do you want to get for your birthday?" And he said, "A Steam card." That's a
that is
clue
a
right there.
12-year-old boy.
Yes. So, I mean, like, I'm really gonna send him a Steam card or I'm gonna, talk to that person that's supposedly in Australia. But again, a lot of people have fallen for this, and even Dr. Phil has had episodes of this, and it's really sad, especially for the women who have been single for a while and they just want the love and affection from somebody. And that's why they fall for this, is because of how the person's writing and talking to
Right.
them and explaining just, "Oh, if you do this for me, baby, then we'll be able to live the life of luxury, for the remainder of our lives," or whatever they kindly
Jesus.
say. Yes. And so again, it's just, oh, and the other thing is, after they get to you, emotionally and physically and supposedly saying they need money. A lot of times it's for emergency, especially if someone says they're a soldier. They will
Yeah.
use their soldier and say, "Oh, I got to have surgery and I can't pay for it," or, "Oh my gosh, I need some money so that way I can talk to you and so I need $200. I need this."
Yeah.
And they do in small increments. So it doesn't seem that much, but then after time if you've been sending them $200 every month and more and more and more, then you're going to see what's really coming out of your bank.
Yeah.
So So yes,
Agreed.
that's a little bit about the romance. I've had some episodes of that, but luckily enough, I have I have actually given somebody money, and that was the stupidest mistake I ever made. And this is before I scam baited and actually learned about scams and talked with other people that had the same situation. So just know that yes, I have made the mistake a long time ago, but would I ever do that now? No. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. So again, just don't ever fall for someone that you've never met. It's better that you just meet in real life, and that there's other ways, other venues of finding someone through romance. And please don't ever fall for this. But if you do, all you have to do is just stop it, change your bank, and or your card, whatever, and just really find people that will help you in this situation on a daily basis, because it's scary, because they're mentally and physically draining you,
Yep.
and it can cause issues. So again, make sure that if you find someone in that situation, make sure you reach out to them and say, let me make sure that this person is legit. And if they're not, then make sure that your friend is being cared for, because this will take a emotional roller coaster. It'll be very
Yeah.
hard for them. But in the meantime, they will find someone who's going to give them the support. It's just they don't need to do it by giving someone and causing more harm to them, because they're being victimized and it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information there, but my takeaway from that was don't fall for anybody through pixels.
Hmm.
I mean, I bet there's people out there that are genuine, but it's not worth the risk.
Right. It
People
very.
who people who portray themselves as these I guess from the female perspective, people who portray themselves as good people or people who are I mean, I guess it's very hard to do that as a woman to parse through all the different advances you get, especially nowadays with Tinder and all the Bumble and all that stuff. There's probably people
Mhm.
on there doing this 24/7 as a industry, and that's not good.
No. That's why you never want to fall for someone that you feel in your gut is not trustworthy at all. I mean, do some
Yep.
background searching. Definitely look them up. And of course, the Australian guy, I looked up his picture, and come to find out he was on other social media sites, all that kind of stuff. So it never hurts to just take a breather. If someone reaches out to you, and it probably makes you smile and say, hey, this is great, but let's make sure that this person is legit. And so
Yeah.
do a little bit of homework. And then, in time, if you still keep talking to him, but the main thing is never give out your full information. Don't give him your address, telephone number, and that's why you want to make sure, like anything on Facebook, TikTok does not have your telephone number listed. So those are some things that you
Correct.
can do. But hopefully, I gave
There's
a little bit of insight. But I mean, there's more to talk about too. It's just hopefully I've filled.
something actually came to mind. There's a little feature. I think it's the FCC, FTC. I'm not sure. The acronyms mess me up. But there's this do not call
Yeah.
program you can opt into, and that's a very good start. It just occurred to me just now. I mean, we probably could have covered it in previous topics, but a little bit of information that goes a long way is this little program where you can opt
Mhm.
in to not be called by ad agencies. And I'm a part of that program, and I don't have many callers at all that want to interact with me. I'm very cautious about where I put my phone number. And because of that, I found out that um, I'm not getting as many calls as I would have if I didn't opt into that program.
That's really good. I'm glad that you did. Because
I
even
forgot about
I'm,
that.
yeah, no, I think that's great that you reminded everyone about that. And I even have I'm on the do not call registry, but yet I
Yeah.
still get some calls, not as many. And then, of course, on your iPhone, there is the scam blocker that you can
Yes.
enable, and that's been helpful. I mean, it definitely has blocked some calls, but some still get through. And because I had one person call me today and I didn't recognize the number, so I'm gonna look it up, see what it says later. But other than that, I think it's just like we said, never hurts to do a little bit of homework and contact the FCC or make sure you're on that call registry. I think that's a good idea. Very good
Yep,
idea.
definitely.
So, since we kind of talked about the first top three so far, the phishing, tech, romance, what do you think we move on to the investment scam?
Um, yeah, I mean, the investment scams are those kind of scams where you when someone's it's like the Wolf of Wall Street penny stocks. They say you invest a penny or a dollar, you'll get hundreds of dollars in return. Ever since ever since that movie came out, I've seen a rise in those kinds of scams being offered to people. And luckily I'm not super invested, haha. I'm not super invested in the stocking or the stock exchange or anything of that nature. I
Hmm.
know there are some people are who gamble on it daily, but um personally, I've never had someone approach me with that kind of scam before. And even if they did now, I would definitely be like, well, that's interesting. I didn't know I had a portfolio. Tell me how much I've made. Like,
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? You made $1 million. What would you
oh,
think if someone said that?
really?
Hey, that would be great. I would love to have $1 million in my account, but
Yeah.
that is not in the cards for me. But you're right. I mean, luckily enough, a lot of investment companies will get in contact with your company. And that's how I
Yes.
had some investments. And I had like the blue chip and different ones that I had my dad look into, and he chose the ones for me to do. And then if
Yeah.
your organization even says, okay, if you donate 400, we'll match it, which is great if companies do that. But that's the only way
Yes.
that you can really know it's trustworthy, and then you can seek out which ones are best for you. And because I now don't invest. But if someone did, like, they're like, "Hey, this is little or no risk." And then of course they give them the promises like you said, "Hey, we'll give you a guaranteed profit."
It's kind of like those scams where, how do I put this? It's kind of like those scams where they say get rich quick schemes. It's a lot like that. But investment fraudulent activity is mostly based on the idea that if you invest 20 bucks, you'll get 100 bucks in return. And that's never the case. And if that is the case for you and you manage to make that happen, good. It's never going to happen again.
Right. I mean, that was probably just a one-time luck of the draw, but I guess I better go watch that movie is what I need to do because
Yes.
I do love Leonardo, and but I
It's
for
a
some reason I
very
never.
wild movie. Lots of partying, lots of good times, but he tells you exactly everything he did as a scammer. But the thing is that he didn't scam. He actually did make those people lots of money. And that's crazy
It is crazy.
to a degree. But yeah, no, that Wolf of Wall Street is probably the most accurate form of fraudulent scam baiting kind of or scammer based kind of activity, without a doubt. I
Okay.
would say 100% that that's a scam bait kind of movie night.
Okay. Hey, actually, we can watch it with other people too. All right. So
Yes.
again, with their tactics and then pressuring you and be like, "Hey, you better do this now." I mean,
Yeah.
I can imagine just having to deal with a scammer like that, and because some of them are really, really, really mean, or they'll say, "You're going to go to the goat house. We're going to have people come and get you," something like that. But that
Yeah.
doesn't happen in this case, but in the next case, it does.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Which one would that be?
Excuse me, the PCH.
Oh, right. So, basically, scammers tell victims they've won a lottery or sweepstakes, requiring payment or fees or personal information to claim a prize. Now, I've never encountered PCH, but I've only heard bad things from them. Uh,
They're not
yeah,
they're not fun to work with, but the main thing is other people that we've known, and I've called some of them before, but when other people have like my friend Takeout, He
Yeah.
baited one for months and months and months, and then even introduced some other characters involved in the story.
Okay.
But they'll always say you've won, $15 million and a Mercedes Benz or some kind
Right.
of vehicle. And then they'll say, okay, and then we promise you $7,000 a week. And then you'll talk to them, and most of them are coming from Jamaica.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Huh.
And because
Interesting.
you can also hear the tree frogs, which anytime you hear a tree frog, just hang up, just hang up. They, it's just a situation to where they will talk to you, try to convince you to get a card because that card is supposedly paying off fees for your $15 million in taxes. But if you hear them say Texas is kind of how they say it, but the majority of the time you are going to have to pay a fee so that
Gotcha.
they'll come to your house. And if you don't pay that fee, there have been some threats where they'll say, "We will come to your house and we're going to do this to you." And but the majority of the friends I've talked to, they've they've had their long baits with them. And
Right.
of course, no one is going to be calling it. Most of the time the PCH will email you because I get those emails. And then um but of course we used to see the advertisements with Dick Clark and who's the other guy that was with Johnny Carson? I can't think of his name right now, but I'll think of it later. Anyway, they both were very much the spokesperson for the lottery sweepstakes. And, but it's just really sad though that people will take advantage of this and get money from people who are thinking that they're winning $15 million.
Yes.
It's really, really, really
It
sad.
the only time you'll ever, I think, in your life you'll ever get anywhere near that is if you just win the lottery through a ticket. I don't
Mhm.
trust Publishers Clearinghouse. I don't think that they're I honestly don't think that they're valid anymore because people are finding so
Yeah.
many other ways to attain wealth. But I do think that it's still something to look out for. I'm pretty sure most millennials and will have heard of Publishers Clearinghouse, but Gen Z, I don't
Right.
think that they're I don't think that it's capable for them to how do I put this? I don't think they've ever heard of it, if I'm being honest with you.
No, no, because we used to see the advertisements. We see no advertisements anymore. And because that
Yep,
was back in the 80s. And, but again, you're right. A lot of them may not know about this, and which is totally understandable. And I'd rather give money towards, our state because that money actually goes to a worthy cause. Like ours is supposed to go to help education.
yes,
That's why they approved the lottery here in my state. And so again, the safest bet, I agree with you, Iconic, is just go get the scratchers and get your lottery ticket. And if you want to do that for your Wednesday night or Saturday, go for it. Because that way
yep,
your money was spent on something that you wanted to do. It wasn't spent on some other person gaining funds that really didn't need them. You need to save your own money.
yep, exactly.
So again,
Couldn't have
just
put
to
it better myself.
well, thank you. I try, but but thank you. You speak very, very wise words as well too. Um, all right. So do you want to go on to the last one that we are going to talk about tonight?
Which one would that be?
The impersonation scams.
Right. Um, I've seen people go through the impersonation scams before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've had people contact me and say that they're family members, but all they did was take a profile picture and change their bio and made a fresh Facebook account. But outside of that, I'm not really sure what impersonation accounts or impersonation attempts really involve.
Well, anyone from the IRS, they're not gonna be calling you. We know that for sure.
Yeah.
They're gonna contact you through, definitely the mail, certified, things like that. So if anyone calls you and
Yeah.
says they're from the IRS, please just hang up on them and don't discuss anything further because they will ask for personal information. And when I did a call with somebody, they wanted $5,000 is what I owed. And I talked to
Yeah.
about 7 different people and of course they say their agent so and so and that if you don't pay you will actually be arrested within 30 minutes. So
Interesting.
again, actually not just PCH, but to be honest, IRS I think was the one I was really truly thinking of was the one that will threaten um that I know of. And I think PCH I has threatened, but majority of the time the IRS because how they do their script is they'll say that you need a new social security number because your car that you rented out was found in Texas with lots and lots of drugs in the back seat.
Right,
And that's
right.
kind of how their scam started. And then they'll say, well, due to that with you got to change your social security number, which of course you never have to. The main thing is they'll then say how much you owe, and if you don't pay it, then they'll take you to the goat house. And they'll say, which one do you prefer? Do you want to pay us now or do you want to go to the goat house? And you tell them which one. And so that's kind of how they get you. And it's
Hmm.
kind of sad because a lot of them do fall for this. And if you've been in that situation where you fell for this, don't feel bad because you're not alone. I just happened to get lucky not to fall for this one because I learned with other people about this. And because, I could have been just as easily as um, fallen for their information and, deceiving and thinking that I owed them money. And I could have fallen for it just as easy as anybody else because they
Yeah.
will eventually get really rude. Actually, a lot of scammers get really rude. And then a lot of them will get perverted. But this
Really?
type of scam, oh yeah, a lot of
That's
scammers
weird.
will go perverted. And that's when you say, "Well, you're being so unprofessional." And but the main thing is just if someone from the IRS and then they start being very unprofessional, it's definitely not true. So
Yeah.
again, just and then you can, contact the IRS. You can let them know what happened. Make sure you jot down all the information, the telephone number, as much information as you can provide. And then if you provide them any banking information, please call your bank right away and do not give
Right,
any gift
right.
cards and things like that. So anyway, it's not fun being yelled at or threatened. And so again, it's just don't let them get to you. Don't let them mentally mind I'm not gonna say the F word, but mind F you, basically.
Yeah. That's hard to not do at the same point. I mean, when you're dealing with threats, sometimes it might seem really overbearing.
Mhm.
Um, it might seem like you have no other alternatives but to do what they're asking you to do. But in
Right.
all honesty, in complete and utter honesty, if you bluff them back and say X, Y, or Z does this, that, the other, I'm pretty sure that they'll be like, "Oh shit, fuck that. I'm not." Or sorry for the language, but
That's okay.
they'll back off. Like I'm pretty certain that they'll back off. So I don't know. I mean, it takes a lot to say, "Oh, I'm not afraid," but at the same point, it is a very scary situation because you don't know who you're talking to. At the end of the day, you don't.
Right. And I would just gather as much information as you can and then report it. And, we can give you some information in the description, those kind of things. So
Yeah,
we can, but the main thing is just never try to let anyone intimidate you ever. and
Yeah.
make sure that you stand up for yourself, and just know that you do have rights, and that if, someone, you per se, fall a victim, or if someone else falls into a victim, just know that things can be done. It's just you wanna just
Right.
definitely protect yourself in any way, shape, or form, and like you said, basically don't share any personal information. Even my daughter who's on social media, she's never told people where she's from. She's never given her
Hmm.
real name, and that's because we had told her, "You don't wanna share information to people that you don't trust and, or don't know in person." But in time,
Correct.
she's kind of built up some relationships, and she's been able to say a little bit more, but in the meantime, I would not want her to fall into a victim category. But if she ever does, she knows that she can contact us, and we'll do everything that we possibly can, because, it can happen to anybody. It's just, don't be scared. Just follow up with the people that you trust. Let them know what's
Yep.
going on, and then that way you can take steps to do, um, reactive measures. But the main thing is just try to be more preactive, and if that's even the right word, but
Proactive.
proactive. Yes, proactive is what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that way, you don't have to end up dealing with a mess. But again, like I said, if we do, then we have steps to take place. And the main thing is just never hurts to reach out and say, "Hey, this is what happened today."
I mean, yeah, reach out to us even. Like if you have something problem, comment below. Because the thing is that some people might be facing a problem and they might not know how to get out of it. And maybe this might be their outlet, their ability to finally get some kind of help. So we have this thing that we can call, and it's called victim advocacy.
Yes.
We have people who we can talk to who will go out of their way to make sure that you're safe if something arises that you're not prepared for.
Right. They'll give you a good listening ear to where you can share your story, and that way you don't have to feel embarrassed, and they can provide you the tools that is necessary to take on, and then also they will do everything in their measure to help fight this scam. And
Yep.
so again, exactly right. Don't hesitate to share your story if you'd like with us, or if you ever want to be on a podcast or a live. And that way, if you feel like sharing a story, or if you want to, just maybe tell what happened, or just just be on. So that way you can be another partner with this, and that way we can just try to keep fighting the good fight and
Yep.
scam. Yeah, that's the main thing. So I think overall we have explained everything, but like Iconic said, if you do have any questions, comments, please feel free to reach out to us. We do read the comments and look over them. And then also we have our email, and we'll have all that in description below. And again, just don't be afraid to reach out and or be able to share a story that will impact somebody else.
Yep. 100%.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm Amanda J, and this is my
Um,
friend,
I'm iconic.
and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning into Scambait Diaries. We hope you enjoyed listening to our show and learned something new about the scam baiting community.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay up to date with the latest episodes. Until next time, this is Amanda J and Iconic signing off. Stay safe and happy scam baiting.